Hi golfers, Nick here from GOLFTEC Singapore. It's Friday, so welcome to another lesson on golf tips. This week on golf tips, we're going to take a look at the impact position, the moment of truth in the golf swing. I have with me the DST compressor. Some of you guys may have seen this. It's one of the best training aids to help with sort of the impact position. A lot of the best players in the world actually use this. This is an 8-iron, there's a wedge version as well, and there's many other training aids that they do, but I really like this training aid just to help with sort of the impact position, which we're going to take a look at today. So today, as you can see, I've got my sensors on. We're going to look at some 3D motion. We're going to take a look at the video. We're going to compare it to some tour players, plus we're going to look at some data here on the quad. So let's get going. So the unique feature of this training aid is the bench shaft. So it's there designed to help simulate the impact position of the best players in the world. So studies have been done and they've shown that the best players have the handle forward, which bends the shaft this way. So the idea is we use this training aid to help recreate that same position at impact. Here at GOLFTEC, I see a lot of issues with golfers as they hit the ball, where they flex this wrist, bend the arms, and sort of scoop at the ball, and they end up hitting upwards with the angle of attack. Now, by having the handle forward like this, you assume that we're going to get quite a steep angle of attack. However, we're going to take a look at the 3D motion, we're going to look at some club data and see how the tour players actually deliver the shaft without hitting down too severely. So the average tour player would hit down on average, say 5 degrees. And that's because of the way the body moves, which we're going to take a look at in detail in a second. But as I'm hitting the ball here, my impact position is different to my setup. My setup's there, my impact would be here. You can see I've pushed my hips forward, they're tilted more on an angle, my shoulders are tilted more on an angle. That helps shallow out the strike. So let's hit a shot. Now the idea is this training aid is there's a white line on the sort of the groove, on the hosel, and you've got to try and get that straight, and you've got to try and recreate that at impact. So let's try and hit a shot here. Okay, so pretty straight shot there. Take a look at some data, pitched around 155. Okay, so you've got the data on the screen there. So that shot slightly out of the toe, which probably brought down the ball speed a little bit, but pretty straight shot, pitched around 155 with an 8-iron. Take a look at some data here. We're going to compare this to tour players in a second. So just over 5 degrees into out, 5.6 degrees downwards, 19.1 launch angle, backspin 7,700, pretty straight shot. So let's sit down now, take a look at my swing, take a look at the club data and compare it to what the tour players do. So you see me hit the shot there on the quad, pretty good shot with the DST compressor. Taking a look at the data just quickly, the ball speed, a couple of miles an hour difference, club head speed, a couple of miles an hour difference, angle attack 1 degree difference, launch angle 1 degree difference, backspin virtually the same. I just caught it very slightly out the toe, which probably brought down the smash factor and the ball speed, but very similar data using that training aid. So it just shows you if you can hit with that training aid, you are going to create sort of an impact position like the pros. So what we're going to do now is take a look at my swing, and then we can do some comparisons looking at the tour players and see why maybe they hit the ball so well. So let's take a look at my swing first before we take a look at the tour players. So I'm just going to just go through the swing to the top of the backswing and then impact. So you can see how the body changes from setup to impact. Now let's bring up some motion measurement numbers. So on the screen there, I've brought up the motion measurement numbers. On the left, you've got the turns of the body, hip turn and shoulder turn. Average tour players around 36 degrees open at impact. Hip sway, again, 1.2 inches towards. So you see I'm pushing forward from that yellow line. Interesting ones there, hip tilt and shoulder tilt. So just explain those two. My hips are tilted on this angle around 8 degrees, my shoulders around 33. So the reason why that is because as I'm pushing my weight through my hip sway, the angle of my body's helping me keep my angle to the ground. So my hips are tilting, my shoulders are tilting to help keep my inclination to the ground. So you saw the difference there from setup to impact. So if you look at my legs, they're pushing up off the ground. So that would be one reason for the swing to shallow. Also the way I'm moving my shoulders. Now, if I just take this swing back to roughly where the shaft is parallel, and if we just put like a little arrow on where the butt of the club is. Now, as I swing down into impact, you see how the butt of the club is actually sort of just raising slightly as I'm pushing up off the ground, and also my left shoulder is raising as well at the same time. So you can see how these mechanisms of the swing are just helping shallow the angle of attack. So even though I'm leaning the shaft forward, I haven't got an excessive sort of steep angle attack into the golf ball. Okay, so next thing we look at is the tour players compared to my impact position. So I'm going to leave the motion measurement numbers and those lines on the screen. So we've got McIlroy here on the right, so set up to impact. Again, you can see the side tilt with the hips and the shoulders, and then sort of the lean of the shaft. So we can go through this list of the best players in the world here. We've got Brooks Koepka, set up, impact. Again, hips, shoulders, lean of the shaft. And you just start to see a very sort of similar pattern with all the best players here. So we've got Dustin Johnson here, set up to impact. Again, hips, shoulders, lean of the shaft. And then finally Ricky Fowler, so set up to impact. Again, lean of the shaft, hip tilt and shoulder tilt as they hit through to help shallow sort of angle attack and keep their inclination to the ground. So very sort of similar theme there at impact. Very important to have that shaft lean, but it's also very important that you get the right body angles in the swing as well, otherwise you'll start hitting too steep into the ground. So when you're practicing with these training aids, you still need to make sure you get the right sort of angle of attack into the ball, just to help you get a consistent strike. So any questions there, golfers, post them in the box below. If you don't already, please follow me on my other social media platforms, and we see you again soon for another video on Golf Tips.